Nelsonville, and WDGL HD2 Baton Rouge. This hour brought to you by Spencer Callahan Injury Lawyers, LA 21-12682. Offices in Baton Rouge. Anytime. Anytime. A daily look at sports from our resident historian. Your sports break during your lunch break. Now, here's Charles Hannegriff.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome into Anytime 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. I'm Charles Hannegriff. Mario Jerez, Taylor Sharp, man in the controls today. Scott Rabley here in about 15 minutes. Bottom of the hour, we'll do first class, second class, and no class. Listen to some of your submissions in the YouTube chat. Injuries is the buzzword of the day. Injuries for teams for and against the locals. We'll start with for the locals. Brian Kelly disclosing during the SEC teleconference that Garrett Dellinger has had surgery on his hand, and he is doubtful to play this weekend.
He had surgery yesterday, and it appears as though it's going to be tight for him to make the game. You know, at first we thought we could get him ready, but there was a screw and a plate that needed to go in there. So right now, as we're talking, I would say he's doubtful for Saturday.
What would y'all be doing at left guard then, you think? Who would be in the mix at that spot?
Yeah, so the natural progression for us would be to move Miles Frazier over to left guard.
So first of all, the loss of Dellinger is significant because he had played really well since moving over from center. The second thing is that this busts continuity yet again on the LSU offensive line. I think it's been at most 6 quarters, no, not even 6 quarters, that everybody that you would consider their best 5 at this point has all played together, because remember, they didn't play the whole game against either Southern or New Mexico. So you, with that 5 that you like, okay, with Campbell at left guard, with Dellinger at left tackle, Dellinger at left guard, Turner at center, Frazier at right guard, Frazier/Bradford at right guard because they actually alternated, and Jones at right tackle. You've got probably, I'm going to say 4 quarters, maybe 5. When you cut out the back end of the Southern game, you cut out the back end of the New Mexico game. So it busts continuity yet again. But I do want to say that Miles Frazier has turned into a heck of a utility player for somebody that is a starter. Remember that he came in as a tackle and was moved inside to guard. And okay, that's easier than moving from guard to tackle, I'll grant you, but it still is something that you have less reps with. Then moving from one side of the line to the other, some linemen handle this very easily. For others, it's a chore. I remember having this conversation with Todd McClure about the 13-year veteran of the Atlanta Falcons when he was with us, about the problems that Andrus Peat had early in his career when the Saints tried to put him on the right side. He is naturally just a left-handed player, which doesn't mean that he throws or writes with his left hand. It's just that's the stance he's comfortable in on that left side. So Frazier moving all around, if he does this well, that's no small thing to have him do that. But again, the continuity, this was the position of concern going into the season. I was referring to it as offensive line 2.0, 3.0, 4.0. They finally had the 5 guys in spots where they wanted, ready to go, and then this happened. So you end up having to juggle multiple pieces. This also will require Anthony Bradford to play the whole game at right guard. You're going to have to, make sure that everything is squared away. And for Bradford, that's not always been a sure thing to be able to get through a whole game. I think he will this time, but I don't know that for sure. If he were to go out for whatever reason, you'd probably have to move Frazier back to the right guard and put Tremont Shorts in at the left guard. The less shuffling, the better, especially going to a Southeastern Conference. Well, it's a Southeastern Conference team that, this is LSU and Auburn, man. And for all of Auburn's problems, it's still Auburn, and it's Auburn's defense. But on to more pleasant things. This team has improved a great deal, and Kelly talked about that.
I just think this is a group of players that are learning to play together. And, we brought in 13, 15 transfers, 15 total transfers. So a huge influx of new players playing true freshmen. That takes time. And so, we've been really coming together both on offense, defense, and special teams and, learning a new system. And, obviously from my perspective, you've got a new head coach with new standards. So all of those things coming together just has taken a little time and, we're making some progress.
Some variation of that, some paraphrasing of that was said by everybody that covers the LSU football team every single day in August. But it sounds better coming from the coach, right? Okay. I mean, that was the narrative. I would look guilty. I was right there leading the charge. Hey, they turned over the whole building. Rome wasn't built in a day, but it sounds better coming from the coach. So I wanted to let you hear that. Also talked about Jaden Daniels.
Just more comfortable with the offense itself. Remember now, he was in a totally different offensive structure. He was in direct snap. He was in much more of a, pro-style offense. This was a totally different offensive structure for him. So just becoming more comfortable with the offense itself. And I would say, and I used this word the other day, he's become more decisive because he clearly understands the offense much better. And when you're decisive, the ball comes out, you move more efficiently. And really, that's just what we're seeing is we knew the talent was there. We're just seeing a more decisive quarterback.
Mike Denbrock, the offensive coordinator, did one extended media session early in the camp, and he was asked what he wanted out of his quarterbacks. The first thing out of his mouth, as it is for most offensive coordinators, is you have to protect the football. Jaden Daniels has 0 interceptions on the season. 15 quarterbacks in the United States that have started 3 or 4 games have 0 interceptions. He's one of them. Now, when you do that, that one thing at the beginning is don't turn the ball over and then let your natural talent take over and get more comfortable. Yes. Does Daniels look like a better quarterback in week 3 than he did in week 1? I'm going to try to skip over the week 2 and week 4 stuff because, well, the competition wasn't as good. Did he look better against Mississippi State? He sure did to me, especially in the fourth quarter. Finally, the defense. And we made this analogy before, too. Back in 2005, the Bo Pelini defense was struggling through the first 2 games. That first game out at Arizona State. But once the coach got to know the players and the players got to know the coach and they made some personnel changes and schematically they were a little bit more comfortable with what they were doing, Pelini at that time was at the top of his game as a defensive coordinator, and he had a boatload of talent. Certainly, Matt House is a budding star as a defensive coordinator. We've had some real good ones here in Baton Rouge, and he looks like the next in a line. Looks like he's got some things figured out with this defense.
Well, we've gotten, obviously better communication, better tackling. Look, I have great respect for New Mexico, but that was not one of the top offenses that we've seen. And so our expectations were to play really good defense against New Mexico. But the back end of that, the 2 quarters against Mississippi State, if I could comment on those, were played fast, played physical, and really great communication. We lacked a lot of that in our opener, and a lot of that had to do with new players working together, trying to get comfortable with each other, and we didn't tackle very well. And, of course, their quarterback had a lot to do with that as well. But those are kind of the little pieces of why we're playing better defense.
I don't know if this guy took a media class at some point, because he manages to answer the question while intercepting a couple of questions that could come follow up before they get there. It's pretty good when he says, hey, listen, we played pretty good defense, but it's New Mexico. And he said it in such a nice way, such a polite guy. So you talk about the defense, but you don't want to dwell on the New Mexico setting, because then the next thing is, yeah, but it was New Mexico. So he immediately, backs up into what they did against Mississippi State and some of those things. So a lot of positive, stuff out of the first month. And Brian Kelly kind of summarized that. The big news is the injury to Dellinger and what they're going to do with it. Now, the other injury that is of note is on the Auburn offensive line. We touched on this briefly yesterday, and I did a little bit more on the podcast with it yesterday, the Hanny cast. But Tate Johnson is out, and he was the second center. Nick Brahms retired in camp. He had an injury that forced him to give up football. And so Jaleel Irvin is going to start, we believe, is going to start at center for Auburn on Saturday. He has one career start that was in the Bahamas Bowl last year. He is a senior, so he's an older player, but he's not one that has played a ton, and he's only started once. All together now with our stat about the teams that lose their starting center. What do? They tend not only do they not win, they usually don't cover in the next game, somewhere around 80-85% of the time. So that's the injury news out of LSU and Auburn, both offensive lines taking a pretty significant hit. The other injury news comes out of London, and this was the Saints on the practice field earlier today, and Jameis Winston wasn't out there with them. Now, since that time, Dennis Allen and Jameis Winston have both met with the media, and Allen suggested that this was the plan all along, was to rest Jameis Winston today and get Taysom Hill some snaps at quarterback. Okay. I don't know if this was the plan before Sunday or this was the plan all along, meaning that the plan came up on Monday or whatever. But as it is, Jameis Winston did not practice today. Allen, after the practice, said he anticipates that Winston will practice tomorrow and he will play on Sunday. Upon hearing this, Kevin O'Connell with the Minnesota Vikings immediately put in 3 more blitzes. Then Jameis Winston met with the media and said that he anticipates that he will practice tomorrow and play on Sunday, at which point Kevin O'Connell called his defensive coordinator and said, let's put in 3 more blitzes. If Carolina got off the bus blitzing, then you can book it. Minnesota's going to be blitzing before they clear customs. I don't know how Jameis Winston feels. All I know is that he looked like a pretty uncomfortable quarterback the last 2 weeks. He has missed throws. He has not looked in the direction of open receivers, and he can't move. He's not the only problem on this offense. He didn't fumble and have a scoop and score. He's not the one with all of these pre-snap penalties. They started to drive 1st and 20 after 2 pre-snap penalties. I got to tell you, I'm sure I've seen it before, but I don't remember it. You see 1st and 20, there's an offensive lineman guilty of a holding almost every time. Yeah, back-to-back pre-snap penalties, and there's been a lot of them. We went through some of this on Mondays. Like, these are your best players. You get an errant snap from one of the top 3 or 4 centers in the NFL. You get a fumble that turns into a scoop and score from one of the best running backs in the NFL. The turnovers have hurt them. If they make the 2 field goals, it's a different game. What if they eke this thing out? If he makes the 2 field goals and they don't get the scoop and score and they win the game, they still got a lot of problems, but you feel better about your problems at 2-1. So Jameis Winston did not practice today, but he will practice tomorrow. The blitzes, they are coming. It's not like the Saints have got Steve Young waiting in the wings here, okay? Andy Dalton is a good quarterback, all right? I think he's one of the better backups in the league. But the mere fact that Saints fans are clamoring for Andy Dalton this hard tells you just how much Winston has struggled, okay? If you had if you're Pittsburgh and you're watching Mitchell Trubisky throw the ball 3 yards at a time, and you say, hey, we drafted a guy in the 1st round. Put him in. Let's see. Well, that's a little bit different. The Saints put Andy Dalton in. You kind of know what you're getting. And does Andy Dalton healthy give the Saints a better chance to win this Sunday than the Jameis Winston I saw the last 2 weeks? Absolutely he does. There's no question. That doesn't mean that they're going to win, but he gives them a better chance to win because Andy Dalton healthy is better than Jameis Winston hurt. And I can't help but think that watching Jameis Winston throw and watching Jameis Winston not run and knowing the amount of blitz, the Vikings just put in 3 more blitzes just since we started this segment, that Andy Dalton gives them a better chance, but Andy Dalton can't block. Andy Dalton can't kick field goals. Andy Dalton can't stop the running backs from fumbling. You see what I'm getting at here? It's more than just that. But if Winston can't practice at full go tomorrow, and he says he is, Dennis Allen says he is, then yes, Andy Dalton gives them a better chance. Would that be the long-term plan? Absolutely not. But would it give them a better chance this week? If Winston isn't better physically than what I saw the last 2 weeks, yes, absolutely he is. Scott Rabelais, when we come back, this is Hanny Time, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
I am Juliette, daughter of Marguerite, granddaughter of Gabriel Piera. I come from a line of strong women who knew struggle and success too. Still, I was scared by my breast cancer diagnosis, but I had Blue Cross coverage, which meant I got care from top doctors. I'm strong like my mother and her mother before her. The right card, the right care.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $12,000 off MSRP on all new 2022 Ram Black Widow trucks in stock. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty and free delivery. If you need sales or service, the crew at Bayou is going to do right by you.
Light beer shouldn't taste like water. Miller Lite has more taste and only 96 calories. It's Miller time.
This isn't just another day. It's so much more. Kelly's life was put on hold when her auctioneer primary care doctor discovered a rare blood disorder. Her doctor connected her to an auctioneer care team of cancer, heart, and kidney specialists. With multiple primary care locations around Baton Rouge, same-day appointments, and online scheduling, we're relentless about keeping you healthy. Auctioneer Baton Rouge, innovating healthcare for Kelly.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Oh, hey, what's up? It's Big D and Bubba, 100.7 The Tiger Morning Show. We'd love for you to join us every weekday, 4 a.m. till 9 a.m.
Yeah, everything you want in a show. Country music. We got laughs. We got celebrity in-studio guests. We just need you.
Join us every weekday morning, 4 a.m. to 9 a.m., right where it all started.
That's right. Louisiana's country station, 100.7 The Tiger.
ServiceMaster Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact ServiceMaster Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. ServiceMaster Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
It's no secret. The best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar, located in downtown Baton Rouge.
Eli's always been into grilling. It took us a while to see it, but the signs were there.
What are you doing, Eli?
I knew grilling was my thing. I have been talking about it throughout my career.
Happy with the results?
I am. Got the new grill from barbecueguys.com. It performed great.
My advice, as I always told my boys,
do more of what you're born to do.
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Wednesday's Hump Day AFR, presented by Pluckers. Brian Kelly updates LSU's preparation for Auburn, and we'll head to London to get updates on the Saints and Vikings. Join us for Wednesday's AFR, 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hanny Time with Charles Hannegriff on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Podcast up later this afternoon. Get it at 1045ESPN.com. Get it at Apple, Spotify, all the places you get podcasts. We're going to get a little bit deeper into the Saints stuff in the podcast today with the missing practice today for Jameis Winston and whether or not he will play on Sunday. Both he and the head coach say that he will. Join us now, Scott Rabelais from The Advocate. Rab, good afternoon. How are you?
Charles, I'm doing well. I'm doing better on my phone. Y'all tried to call me. I apologize.
Oh, it's okay. You sound fine. Just stand on one foot and don't move around a whole lot. Okay, the news this morning about Garrett Dellinger, probably the most significant development here as LSU gets ready for Auburn. They've done a lot of shuffling on this offensive line out of necessity so far. What do you think this move does?
Well, they're used to being in flux, aren't they? They're going to move Miles Frazier over to his spot. Of course, Dellinger, as people will remember, was moved out of the center spot. Charles Turner, took over there. So Miles is playing right guard. So I guess then Anthony Bradford takes over. It's been a different. I think it's been a different lineup every game. I don't know if they had. I don't recall if they had the same lineup last week as they did for the Mississippi State game. They might have finally did, but change and shuffling players has been the word. It seems like it's been the word for LSU's offensive line for a long time. But hopefully for the young man, he'll get back to play soon. He's been a good soldier, I think, in the LSU. Hey, try to play center, or try to not do this. And I think that he's had a good attitude about it, and I think he found his best spot. So, but I think they'll be okay. It's not ideal, but for LSU, but they're used to being in flux on the line, and I think they'll handle it.
On the flip side, Will Campbell and Emory Jones, we're now seeing the grades published every week. And these two guys are grading out not just the highest on the team, but the highest in the conference. And in some cases, if you put the category as freshmen, the highest in the country. You just don't see very many freshmen come in and excel right off the bat. So if LSU hasn't done anything other than find two elite freshmen, that's a pretty good first month for Brian Kelly as the head coach as far as the offensive line is concerned.
Well, you want talent, you want stability, and these two young men offer you that, obviously. So if they can play this well now, they can be a great pair of bookends for you, going into the future. And certainly it's a very good place to start for LSU. And I will say this, for LSU's, concerns on the offensive line, Auburn's going to be on their third center. For this game. Their center of the preseason was injured. He retired from football. Another guy, he had elbow surgery. Now they're going with a third center this week. So things could be a little worse for LSU. But freshmen, Kelly was asked on the SEC teleconference today about how the team has come along since the Florida State game, and one of the things he mentioned was starting three true freshmen, these two guys, and then Harold Perkins is starting, and he's been right up there at the top of the team on tackles and leading them in tackles. He's been tremendous as well. So it's those are all, like I said, this is not a championship caliber LSU team, but there are encouraging signs if you're an LSU fan to point to the future, and these are some of them, the way these true freshmen have played.
Scott, if LSU wins this game, and especially if they win it decisively, there is a chance. You tell me what you think the chance is that Brian Harsin won't be the coach for more than 24 hours after that. And as bizarre as that seems, it wouldn't even be the first or even, I think, the second time that a coach got fired because of the result of the LSU Auburn game. And it's not like they ever, they usually play this game in late November or anything. So when you look at the Auburn situation, is it really, really dysfunctional, or is it just Auburn being Auburn?
Aren't the two synonymous?
Yeah, right. It's redundant, I guess.
Charles, it's funny. This sounds like this is going to sound like Charles and I set this up, but we did not. This is the subject of my column tomorrow. I talked to about 3 people who covered Auburn and just said, what is going on? What is there? And one person told me, yeah, it would not be a shock if Harsin was fired if they lose to LSU. It would entirely be a shock if he got fired if they beat LSU, because as we saw Ed Orgeron get fired after the Florida game last year. So it's Auburn being dysfunctional. It's they took a, from what one person told me, they took a swing. Alan Green, the former athletic director, he's now out. At Brian Harsin, an out of the box choice. Coming down from Boise State, and they feel like they had to make some kind of different move. Stuck literally between a rock and a hard place. They're literally between Alabama and Georgia, over there, and they feel like they should compete and want to compete, but Auburn, they fire and they fall back, and they fire and they fall back, and this is one of those times. And everything is, they're 3-1. I mean, obviously, but they've looked bad doing it. Their recruiting class, I was looking at this morning, they're ranked 13th by 24/7 Sports. They're behind Vanderbilt. Right now, their recruiting class for next year. So nothing's going well. Nothing indicates that Brian Harsin is going to be the coach there long term. The fact that they play at Georgia next week, if they lose to LSU, that may keep him going for a little longer. But boy, it's a mess, as it often is at Auburn.
I was going to ask you, are they just waiting for the next loss? Because if it doesn't come this weekend, and we think it will, but if by chance it doesn't come this weekend, it's coming. They're not going to Athens and winning. That's not going to happen. And after this game at Jordan-Hare, 3 of the next 4 are on the road. So, listen, it's not in my nature to feel sorry for people that are going to get about an 8-figure parachute, whatever that number is for Harsin. But it almost seems like this is cruel and unjust punishment just to leave him dangling out there, with this whole, hey, next game you lose, we're firing you. I mean, that's a hell of a thing to have to go put the headsets on with on Saturday.
It is. And it's LSU, then at Georgia, then at Ole Miss. Then they have an open day before they play Arkansas. So I think at the latest, he's getting fired, between the Ole Miss and Arkansas games. But it's a heck of a situation to be in. But he's like you said, he's going to have an 8-figure buyout, and he's a lot of people think he's a good coach. This is not working for him at Auburn. He hasn't endeared himself to anyone there, and he's not one of the guys. And we'll see where they go from there. But it's a heck of a situation to be in. And, of course, it all trickles down to the whole team. The positive for LSU that, if they'd lost to Missouri, maybe he would have gotten fired last week. And you always, teams often get that interim coach bounce. And it's probably a positive for LSU that they won that crazy game against Missouri, that, surviving 2 point-blank shots by Missouri that failed to win the game. So it's never a dull moment with LSU and Auburn, Charles. These are 2 teams that I don't think are going to play each other every year once Texas and OU come to the league. It's going to be kind of a shame. I'm going to kind of miss it, them playing every year.
Let me run a wild scenario by you. This would require an awful lot of patience and calming, which is not in the nature. If you're Auburn, firing Brian Harsin is not going to do anything to save this season, I don't think. The idea that any interim could come in and all of a sudden this Auburn team catches fire and goes on a run is sort of out there to me. So let's say Auburn, and they don't have an athletic director right now, so we're talking about, I guess, the president and the board and, of course, the very influential boosters there. If they just sit down and say, listen, we fire this guy in the middle of October or the beginning of October, and we just throw more gasoline on the fire that we are one of the more dysfunctional athletic departments in America. So let's not do that. Let's wait. Let's wait till the end of the season. Let's talk to Coach Harsin and pray that he has a strong interest in Arizona State. And pray also that Arizona State has a strong interest in him. And at the end of the season, Coach Harsin says, you know what? I gave it a shot down here. I'm more comfortable in the Pacific, in the Pacific time zone. So I'm going to go over and I'm going to move to Arizona State. Auburn saves a little money. Harsin saves a little bit of face, and they can put this, this quick trigger reputation that they've got at least on ice for a little while. That would require everybody to cool their jets for another 2 months. I realize that it's an outlandish theory. What do you think?
Charlie, your ideas intrigue me, and I would like to subscribe to your newsletter.
They never listen to me.
But I think going back to what I said about Auburn, they're like, we have to catch up with Alabama. We have to catch up with Georgia. We got to make a splash higher. We got to, Lane Kiffin, Deion Sanders, Hugh Freeze. There's just too much. What you say makes a lot of sense, but there's just too much, temptation for Auburn to pull quick trigger higher. Don't have an athletic director in place. I think they promoted their compliance guy to interim athletic director, like you said. So you get, of course, boosters are often, meddling too much in the pot at Auburn. They just can't help themselves. So, what you said makes a lot of sense, but has no chance of coming to pass. What I've heard.
I realize that, but it would save a little face. It would save a little money. It requires a little patience. Auburn, to me, and I said this about LSU last year, and I still believe it, I don't know that there's any advantage to firing him this early. You're not going to hire a coach between now and Thanksgiving. You're not going to get a jump. You're already looking for a coach, and everybody knows it, so you're not getting any kind of jump. It's going to cost you plenty of money, and it's going to be an ugly story. Of course, I guess the flip side of that is it's an ugly story every day. People like me get on the radio and go, when's Brian Harsin getting fired? But why would I say that other than Auburn's about to fire the guy? Anyway, Rab, we appreciate it, man. We'll talk to you. Enjoy your trip to Auburn, and we'll talk to you next week.
All right, Charles, thank you.
Thanks a lot. First class, second class, no class. When we return, this is Hanny Time, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hanny Time.
Acura and Infiniti of Baton Rouge. The new 2023 model years, all of them come with 2 years of maintenance included, and they have revamped almost the entire Acura fleet. The Integra's back, 2023 Integra. All new MDX Type S and the Type S Advanced Turbocharged V6, massaging seats, new color combinations, and all new body styles starting with the 2022 MDX, 2021 TLX, the TLX S Type, and the RDX refreshed in 2022. Family owned and operated, they're going to treat you well at Acura Infiniti of Baton Rouge. That's why I go back there time and time again to buy my vehicles. Plenty of inventory on the pre-owned lot right now. So check it out as you get into your new car purchase at Acura and Infiniti of Baton Rouge.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
This is a house call. This is a follow-up appointment. This is a diabetes checkup. This isn't just more convenient care, it's more advanced care. This is innovating healthcare at Louisiana's #1 hospital, Ochsner.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
This summer, meet Acura's heroes of performance. Only available at the Acura Summer of Performance.
This summer, visit your local Acura dealer for attractive offers on the MDX.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644.
On Thursdays, OTB. You sound like you're from London. How can the Saints look to win across the pond? And our guy, Southeastern head coach Frank Selfo, stops by. Off the bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
This is Hanny Time with Charles Hannegriff on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Hanny Time. First class.
I want a seat in first class where I was booked and ticketed over a month ago.
Second class.
That no man should be subjected to the indignity of being labeled or treated like a second-class citizen.
And no class.
My life had become like school on Sunday. No class.
I'll tell you what then. Why don't you call me sometime when you have no class?
First class, second class, no class. Get your submissions in. We'll read a few of them in the last segment today. All right, first class, going with a guy. I love this guy in the preseason, and you know how many of our predictions go awry, right? I mean, we spend all of August trying to predict how the season's going to lay out because, you know, we're just masochists or whatever. But the one guy that has performed exactly like his track record said he would last year is Hendon Hooker, the quarterback at Tennessee. One of the reasons I liked him so much is he's got something that not a lot of quarterbacks pull off, which is the ability to push the ball down the field and avoid turnovers at the same time. Let me tell you what I'm talking about. Hooker's one of 15 quarterbacks in the country not to throw an interception. We gave you that stat with Jaden Daniels earlier. But he's also got the highest yardage of any of them. So, again, you're not turning the ball over. Are you being cautious? No. You have the highest yards per game average of any of those quarterbacks that have not thrown an interception, so I like that. There's only two quarterbacks in that group that have a higher yards per attempt than what Hooker does. One of them is J.J. McCarthy at Michigan, and Michigan up until last Saturday has played absolutely nobody. And the other one is Max Duggan at TCU. Wasn't there a movie called Max Duggan Returns? I'm asking you guys. It's an 80s movie. Like I don't know.
Not that I know of.
There was a movie called Max Duggan Returns. Anyway, he's a quarterback at TCU. So here's why I like Hooker even better than either one of those two guys, or Michael Penix, who I'm going to talk about in a second when I get to second class. Hooker can run, but he doesn't run unnecessarily. He has run in the two games against Florida and Pitt, the two real competitive games, for 139 yards on 28 carries, right at 5 yards per attempt. Now, when they have blown teams out, they played Ball State and they played Akron. He only ran the ball 7 times in those two games combined. This is a quarterback that has exceptional decision-making processes and big play ability. We're going to talk a ton about – you're going to get tired of hearing me talk about this kid next week when they play LSU because I absolutely love his game. I think he is completion percentage, 72%, is in the top 15 in the country. Man, listen, there's nothing I don't like about his game. And he's made key throws when he's had to. He's made big runs when he's had to. He has avoided the big mistake. He's led 2 games that got into tight quarters in the fourth quarter and led them to wins. And last week he did it without the top receiver in the Southeastern Conference because Cedric Tillman didn't play. Hendon Hooker has got my first class vote. Second class, good with a chance to be great. Okay, this was tricky because we're going to pack. Washington, 4-0. So I'm going to put Michael Penix and Washington in my second class. They've been good. They've got a chance to be great, and by that I mean in November put themselves in the conversation to be in the playoff. 4-0 includes a win over Michigan State. Now, Michigan State also got blasted by Minnesota last week. That takes a little bit off the Washington win over Michigan State, but Minnesota's pretty good too, so maybe not as much. Very convincing win over Stanford. Even a win over tougher than we thought, Kent State. Can we give a little shout-out to Kent State? Kent State's played 4 games so far this season. One of them against Washington, one of them against Oklahoma, one of them against Georgia. Who's scheduling their games, man? Kent State coach need to walk in his athletic director's office and go, what did I do to you? Anyway, and by the way, Kent State has not embarrassed themselves in any of those games. They're dropping down in class a little bit. They're going to play Ohio this week. They might make it into my picks this week because they're dropping down in class a little bit, to use a horse racing term. Anyway, Michael Penix leads the country in yards per game, and he's got a 12-1 touchdown to interception ratio, top 20 quarterback ranking. Their next 5, okay, they're going to be favored in all of them. This week's game is probably going to be the closest point spread out of all of them. They're at UCLA. They're a 3-point favorite at the Rose Bowl. It's a Friday night game. Then they're at Arizona State, who is thrown in the towel for the season based on what I saw last week. Arizona, who's not any good. Colorado, who's really not any good. And then Oregon State, which could be a tricky game, but they get them in Seattle. Then they go to Oregon. Okay, very easy to say, and I know you got to play all these games, but they're going to be favored to get to 9-0 when they go to Eugene. They don't play USC in the regular season. They don't play Utah in the regular season. Good with a chance to be, by the way, top 25 total defense also for these guys. Yeah, Washington. Watch the Huskies. Coaching upgrade this year. Michael Penix is who had his moments at Indiana, and before he got hurt was playing really well for the Hoosiers. He's playing great, and I mean great for Washington. So good with a chance to be great. And my no class. I pay very little attention to the rankings, okay? Occasionally, we find that it'll affect some of the play on a point spread. And, of course, we got to pay attention to it at the end of the season when the playoffs are announced. But up until then, we pay very little attention to the rankings. But one thing I looked at this Sunday, I'm like, how can Kansas not be ranked? Kansas, my guys. Jalen Daniels, who I absolutely love as a quarterback. They're 4-0. They got a great coach. Nobody can pronounce his name. It's Lance Leipold. And by the way, I made the same mistake first few times I said it until somebody corrected me. And I said, okay, if I'm going to praise this guy, I could at least say his name right. Lance Leipold. Kansas is 4-0. This is a basketball school, right? Okay. But they have some good wins. They have wins over West Virginia, wins over Houston, wins over Duke. Those are all basketball schools. Shut up. They're really good, okay? Jalen Daniels, 9.6 yards per attempt, 11-1 touchdown to interception ratio, and running the football for 8.5 yards per carry. So you're talking about a guy who is in the top 10 in yards per attempt and is the number 2 rushing quarterback in the country behind Bryce Young in yards per attempt. I'm here to tell you, if Jalen Daniels was playing at Alabama, they'd be just fine. Bryce Young is a terrific talent. I don't know how well he'd do at Kansas, but I know that I watched Daniels at Kansas. Put him in that Alabama lineup, they'd be just fine. But yet they're not ranked. No respect for the Kansas football program. I went to their website to get a little bit more information on them. And right there on the front page of ESPN's Kansas page, there's a big old feature article. It's called The Steps in How to Make a Football Program Successful at a Basketball School. I'm like, this will be great. This will be about how Leipold built the program in the 2 years since he's been there. I clicked on the article. It was about Kentucky. Kentucky was good last year. Kansas was not good last year. Kansas wasn't good the year before that, or the year before that, or the year before that. You get the idea, okay? Getting points again this week, boys. Might make it into the picks. Nobody rock chalk, baby. Jalen Daniels, Lance Leipold, all those voters that didn't vote to put them in, Texas A&M in front of them. Come on, man. Lost to App State. I know they beat Arkansas. No class to the AP voters this week. Got a few of your submissions when we come back here. Put them in the YouTube chat. This is Hanny Time 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hanny Time.
Big party this weekend at Big Mike's in Denham Springs. They're opening early for Saints and the Vikings. Come on out with us and watch the Saints try to pick up this multitude of Minnesota blitzes. Bright and early, 8 o'clock, happy hour drink prices all day, bottomless mimosas, champagne will be flowing, and they're going to have breakfast burgers, breakfast waffles, so lots of stuff to eat. And they're having a pajama party. I'm going to do you guys a favor, not wear my pajamas out there, but if you wear yours, a free beer or a free shot. Every Sunday, go watch the Saints at Big Mike's, and it's happy hour drink prices all day. You can make your football weekend around Big Mike's. If you're in after the high school football games, the restaurant is open late. Kid-friendly. Bring them in there to get something to eat after the high school football games. And, of course, DJs and live music on Saturdays and Thursday nights as well for the games that are going on there. But come out early this Sunday at Big Mike's on Aspen in Denham Springs. At Big Mike's, we're kind of a big deal.
This week on DropBiscuit.com or wherever you listen to podcasts is our new series, Pops, the Louis Armstrong story. Pops is brought to you by New Orleans & Company. Check out neworleans.com and come visit New Orleans.
This isn't just another day. It's so much more. Kelly's life was put on hold when her auctioneer primary care doctor discovered a rare blood disorder. Her doctor connected her to an auctioneer care team of cancer, heart, and kidney specialists. With multiple primary care locations around Baton Rouge, same-day appointments, and online scheduling, we're relentless about keeping you healthy. Auctioneer Baton Rouge, innovating healthcare for Kelly.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Oh, hey, what's up? It's Big D and Bubba, 100.7 The Tiger Morning Show. We'd love for you to join us every weekday, 4 a.m. till 9 a.m.
Yeah, everything you want in a show. Country music. We got laughs. We got celebrity in-studio guests. We just need you.
Join us every weekday morning, 4 a.m. to 9 a.m., right where it all started.
That's right. Louisiana's country station, 100.7 The Tiger.
ServiceMaster Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact ServiceMaster Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. ServiceMaster Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
It's no secret. The best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar, located in downtown Baton Rouge.
Eli's always been into grilling. It took us a while to see it, but the signs were there.
What are you doing, Eli?
I knew grilling was my thing. I have been talking about it throughout my career.
Happy with the results?
I am. Got the new grill from barbecueguys.com. It performed great.
My advice, as I always told my boys,
do more of what you were born to do.
Barbecue Guys, for those who were born to.
for a Wednesday edition of Hunt and Hill. JD Piquel joins us, and we rank the SEC 1 to 14. Hunt and Hill 1 to 3 weekdays, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hanny Time with Charles Annegriff on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
First class, second class, and no class. Okay. Stephen in the chat says on Stephen F. Austin for winning 98-0 this week. Okay, this was where I was going at the beginning, and then I went to read a little bit about this thing, and I found out that there were some circumstances. They played Warner University. This is a little small school. This is an NAIA school out of Florida, and the only reason that this game was scheduled because when the WAC rebooted, Stephen F. found themselves needing an opponent. Warner needed an opponent. They gave him a guarantee. Warner went to Nacogdoches to play. Stephen F. got 2 turnovers for touchdowns. They got 2 more turnovers inside the 15-yard line. They shortened the third and fourth quarters to 12 minutes. I mean, they did everything but running clock. Even the Warner coach said, look, man, they didn't do anything out of we could have done better, but this and it would have taken a knee with 4 minutes to go. So this was a game that obviously never should have been played. Under normal circumstances, would have never been played. Warner got a little bit of money out of it, and from what I read, I didn't see the game and don't plan on going and watch any of it, but Stephen F. did everything they could to, just keep the score down and did not want to score that many points. A lot of folks say that LiPo win it with less as players. Daniels is a less recruit. He was a less. He's from out of California. He was a less recruit. So yeah, absolutely. I mean, you got to give credit where it is. We got some first class for Kirk Herbstreit doing Thursday night football game day and Saturday's top game. And most weeks, as I understand it, he is going home to see his son play high school football on Friday night. So yeah, he's logging the miles. I don't think he's flying commercial though. I mean, come on, it's nice. Mario, you got one?
Yeah, I got one for second class. This is more okay with a chance to be good, I guess. But the Pelicans had media
good
day.
With a chance to be great.
Okay, we'll go good with a chance to be great.
Are okay with a chance to be better?
Okay, we'll go with that. The Pelicans were pretty good towards the end of last season, right? And they had their media day yesterday, and it was just a much better vibe than last year's media day when they said out of nowhere that Zion Williamson was going to be hurt. He's now back healthy. Willie Green, David Griffin both talked about kind of embracing the expectations, trying to make the playoffs 2 straight years. I thought they'd be a good submission for second class.
Yeah. Yes, the media days that went on throughout the league, man, you saw some of these things. The Suns, had to answer all these questions about their owner. And then DeAndre Ayton came out and they were like, hey, man, you and Monty Williams make up. He's like, I didn't talk to him. Okay. The Celtics had to answer all the questions about their coach. The Nets, which might have been the most entertaining one out of all of them, had to go out there and say, after an entire summer's worth of everybody wants out, oh, no, we're going to make this work. We're going to make this work. Okay. I can't wait to see it. It was a love fest down in New Orleans. So, yeah, that was really nice to see. No class to the NFL for putting Thursday Night Football on a streaming service. Get used to it because that's coming to college football. It's just a matter of time before you get a lot more college football from that medium than you're getting right now. Ask Hanny, do you recall a whistle from the crowd in the 1995 Auburn LSU game? Yeah, I do. That was the Bring Back the Magic game. It was early in the game, and Auburn stopped with the quarterback in the end zone, and LSU recorded a safety, and was it James Gilliard that registered the sack? I think it was Gilliard. Maybe it was Gabe Northern, but I think it was Gilliard that had the quarterback wrapped up, and basically everybody stopped, and they thought that the play was over, but the play wasn't over. The whistle came from somewhere. It was out of the north end zone. Near student section actually wasn't as far around back in 95 as it is now. So I don't know if it was a regular fan or a student or what, but yeah, they stopped. Yeah, LSU got the safety, and yeah, it was a big play early in the ball game. want to remind you about an event we got coming up this Saturday at Radio Bar on Government Street. It's the MS Societies. They do a bike bash. They've done a bike ride to raise money for MS research, but they're going to turn this bike bash into a party for the LSU Auburn game. Starts at 3 o'clock. You make a $25 donation at the door. It's free pastelaya and keg beer all afternoon long while the supplies last. Plus, the donations will get you raffle tickets into a drawing. They've got some Tyrann Mathieu swag. They've got some stuff from Josh Smith. They've got some stuff from Marucci Bats. But most importantly, we're raising money for MS. This is the MS Society. The website is mssociety.donordrive.com. I'll be out there after pregame for a little bit before LSU starts with Auburn, trying to knock out MS. So the MS Bike Bash is at Radio Bar this Saturday, starting at 3 o'clock, and it goes all the way through the end of the LSU Auburn game. Thanks to everybody for participating. Hunt and Hill are next for Taylor and Mario. I'm Charles Hanniger saying thank you and good afternoon. This has been Hanny Time, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.